So I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Emma Glass. Emma is University Partnerships Manager for Healthcare Technologies in the Knowledge Solutions Division of BSI. She is responsible for engaging with universities in healthcare technology research and innovation to promote participation, raise awareness of standards and standards development. Her recent work includes creating an interactive workshop for biomedical engineering students on the value of standards in healthcare, and collaborating with leading healthcare universities on innovative research projects. Prior to working at BSI, Emma launched new open access science journals in digital health, nuclear medicine, and radiology. She also authored CBP's Big Data Focus Report in 2016 and 2017. Her talk today will provide an overview of the role of the National Standards Body, highlighting key standards to be aware of and how you can get involved in standardisation. The aim of the session is to provide an introduction to standards and their importance in material science and beyond, giving you the knowledge and tools you'll need for future innovation. So, without any further delay, over to you, Emma.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Emma Glass. I am the University Partnerships Manager for Healthcare Technologies, but that remit is kind of slowly growing as we get more and more engagement from universities and interest from academia as well. I'm really pleased to be joining you today just to provide a bit of an overview and an introduction to BSI, the British Standards Institution, and really just to give you a little bit more detail about what we do, our role as the National Standards Body, what it means to have the Royal Charter as well, and then just to try and encourage you and a bit of a call to action to get involved, to go to your university library and look up the standards that may be most relevant to your work and your research, and also potentially even to join a committee as well. Anybody can join our standards committees. They're a great opportunity to kind of bring together key experts in a field. And I would definitely hope that this is just a taste of what you can be doing and getting involved in. So just to kick things off, I thought it would be useful to provide a bit of an intro to BSI. So BSI has a presence on every continent. We've got 87 offices in 31 countries around the world. And our clients really range from kind of globally recognized brands to kind of small local businesses. And I think it's really key to notice, we recognize and understand the value of supporting SMEs and smaller industries as much as we possibly can, especially as standards can be used as such a tool when organizations are just getting set up. So you can see here from the diagram on the left that our organization is broken up into four main parts. So I sit on the left hand side in the standards and informations area, and that's really where the National Standards Body is based. So the National Standards Body just means that we are the key organization that helps to develop new standards and manages the current standards portfolio that is out there. And as it says, we were formed in 1901, so we've been going for a long time now. But yeah, really, it's just a kind of key. We really represent the UK's interests on a kind of national and international level. We are the UK member for the International Standards Organization, which has over 169 organizations from across the world who are part of that. And then we've also got the organizations such as CEN and CENELEC, which are the European equivalents. So we're making sure that the UK is really represented in these kind of key pivotal discussions when it comes to standards and new standards development as well. On the right, you can see there are kind of the three circles, and those are more so around the other strands of the business. So we have a regulatory services organization, and that really looks to kind of certify businesses against the standards that we are creating. So we have to try and create a bit of a wall between the work that we're doing in the standards development space and then those who are looking to then certify and make sure that organizations are kind of adhering to those standards. We also then have the consulting practices, and we also have the auditing and certification and training as well. So it's a big organization, and sometimes it definitely takes a while to get your head around everything that we do. But my main call to action really today is to just get you thinking about standards portfolio, the role of the National Standards Body, and then really how you can get involved and learn more. So this is quite useful just to give you a bit of an idea of the evolution of standards. And you can see here, so we had the first age where we were established in 1901, and that was really around product safety. So thinking about how these relatively new technologies and how we can ensure that they are safe for users. And then as we have gone over time, it's then obviously transitioned. So, things like there is a standard for a credit card to make sure that everybody can put their credit card in the credit card machine, and it's everybody's the same across the board. Equally, I think for something like a laptop, there are over 1,000 standardized within one piece of technology. So you can see as this kind of second age of services comes out, we've really had to kind of up the game and make sure that we've got plenty of things in place. Finally, the third age. So it's taken a bit of a change in terms of the standards that we are developing. So they're much more kind of value-based, thinking about societal impact. And we have a real focus across the business now around sustainability and digital trust. So we've just recently developed the net zero guidelines, which are basically a tool that can be used by organizations to think about their transition process towards net zero. And then for myself, I'm doing a lot of work around AI, artificial intelligence. How do we kind of monitor and regulate and create standards for technology that is adapting and changing so rapidly? And really that's, working quite closely with the regulators, with the UK government, to make sure that we have standards in place to ensure the safety of the end users and really that governance and that trustworthiness of these new technologies as well. So you may be wondering how a standard is made, and basically it's anybody can kind of suggest an idea or propose how a standard gets born, basically, and then it's then proposed to either potentially a committee that it is relevant to, or just the wider kind of national, European or international organizations. And it is then put forward to the chair of the committee, and then they make a call about whether or not it will be approved as a project. Either it needs to kind of come into whatever committee is already potentially working within this space, or if it's a brand new area, then it would be a case of setting up a new committee and looking to see how that can be established either on the kind of national level, but or also on the international level as well. And it's worth noting, so there's quite a long time frame between the development of standards. So typically it's between kind of 3 to 4 years in terms of the cycle of bringing everybody together, thinking about what best practice looks like, and then how that can then be kind of put kind of formed and synthesized into one document. It's also worth noting, so the standards are typically reviewed at least every 5 years. So when things do change, we're always aware of that and we keep abreast of it and make sure that we are adapting as we can. We kind of recognize the pace that technology in particular is going at, that it's important to have other alternatives to make sure that we are not losing sight of the innovation. So we have fairly recently developed new models for standards, and those are typically slightly more commercially motivated, but they are around either publicly available specifications or flex standards as well. And this just means that if a particular sponsor has an idea for a standard, they can streamline and make sure that process goes very quickly, just to make sure that it is then out there and available to those who need it and want to use it. So this is just a model to give you an idea of how, who is involved in a committee and how that is. The kind of key thing is about bringing together as many stakeholders as possible. We want to have that representation across the board, and our role as the national standards body is to make sure that we have the right people sitting on those committees. So it's our role as the national standards body to have a standards development manager, oversee the committees, convene those discussions, make sure that we are kind of making the editorial changes to the documents as we see fit. And then also making sure that, there is representation across the board, and that these key stakeholders can reach consensus based around what best practice looks like. So we have academia who get involved, and as I said, 100% encourage everybody to get involved in standards development as much as possible. We also collaborate really closely with government, and we try and feed into various projects and initiatives that are going on and make sure that we are linked up, because the role that we play with the Royal Charter that we have, it's really key that we keep that relationship really close with UK government, the devolved governments and nations as well. So I try and work really closely with Welsh universities and universities in Northern Ireland as well, and it's really key that we have that representation. And then also specifically around healthcare technologies, I work quite closely with the MHRA, and my colleagues in the health sector do as well. And obviously they are the regulators for medical devices. So it's great to kind of have this much influence and these number of individuals getting involved and taking part in this standards discussion. So here I wanted to outline some kind of key characteristics around standards. And I know I've kind of put the word standards out there, but not necessarily said what they are or what does it mean. So standards are really an agreed way of doing something. And as I outlined in that kind of map on the slide previously, it's about incorporating the distilled wisdom of people with expertise in their subject matter, who know the needs of the organizations they represent. And basically you just bring everybody into one room, they talk about what best practice looks like within a particular sector, and then together they put together this document, this standard, which can then be shared and used by thousands of organizations, businesses in the UK, in Europe, and around the world. So standards are voluntary and market-led. So you don't necessarily, it's not, you're not mandated to use a standard, but it's really a guide, a tool for best practice. So also you can gain legitimacy through public consultation and consensus. So the more people that we have involved in standards development, and that consensus piece, which is so key to the work that we do, the more kind of the standard kind of holds a greater remit, I would say. And then you can see, so what's really key, particularly in the healthcare technology space for myself and the work that I'm doing, is standards can be used to demonstrate compliance with regulations. So typically what you will see in a regulation is that they will refer quite specifically to a particular section of a standard, and then you can use, or as part of your technical report, you can use and refer to that standard when demonstrating you are complying with the regulations. So they're really, I would say if the standard is the how and the regulation is the what, like what you need to be doing, and the standard tells you how you can do that in quite a methodical and clear way. So this is just an example of a couple of different types of standards. So you can see here we have kind of horizontal cross-cutting standards. So they can take more of a generic or horizontal approach. So we have things that cover kind of risk management. In the healthcare space, you have things that look at like biocompatibility of devices, materials, and then you have those vertical standards. So those are very device specific, and they look at things like cardiac defibrillators. But this works across the board. So it's not just in healthcare, but also in the material space, in the built environment. And I think it's just worth noting that is the case with a lot of standards. You can see the diagram on the right just gives you an idea of almost the value chain of the different standards that are out there. So I mentioned this idea of sponsored standards previously, and this is really a call from BSI responding to a call for making sure that we're keeping pace with the development of innovation and the standards that we have available. So BSI's PAS, or publicly available specification, is typically a sponsored standard, and then it is, together we work with the sponsors to make sure that we have the right technical individuals on board, and that we are bringing everybody together to work on this particular area. You can see then you have national standards. So obviously the British standards, and those are applicable in the national context. And just to give you an idea, when you see the kind of BS written next to the standard or the number, that just means that it's a British standard. And equally, this is the same thing with EN. So EN means that it's a regional or European standard. And then finally, at the top of the pyramid, you can see international standards. So these are they have jurisdictions around the world and are led typically by the International Standards Organization. So I thought this would be relevant to our the more materials focused individuals in the call. So the built environment committees are focused around three core themes. So there are 290 committees, and 234 of these are national. And as I mentioned, we then have 122 technical committees and 112 the specialist committees as well. 58 of these are international committees. So there's a lot. You can see the varying degrees of the number of different committees just working in this one particular area. The themes across the board are things like design, construction, asset management, decommissioning, and also fire as well. And really, as I talked about before, these strategic priority areas for BSI, but also for this particular space, thinking about things such as sustainability, digital trust, quality is always a big priority, and then health, safety, and well-being as well. There are various examples here that I've included, which hopefully will give you a good starting point and are hopefully relevant to you guys around the key areas that are going on in this area as well. And this is just a little slide that I put together, which I hope is relevant to the materials group. So these are commonly used standards in the materials space. So we have things around cement with recycled building materials, thermal insulating materials for pipes and tanks and vessels, things around metallic materials and wires as well, and also plastics and molding materials. So there is loads out there, and what I would 100% say is just go. What you can do is you can access the BSI standards library through your university library. So I would encourage you to go and have a look and just see what is out there. Have a look and see what a standard looks like. It looks really complicated, but actually look at the foreword, look at the annexes, and it will give you an overview of what the standard is about and how it can help you. And really, it's just it's a toolkit and it's a guidance document to help you think about the work that you're doing in whatever space that you're interested in, really. And then finally, this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I just wanted to highlight some of the resources and tools that are available on a much broader level around the education scope as well. So here at BSI, we have a student research program, and this is typically a master's student project that has something to do with standards development. This is a really great opportunity for you to work quite closely with colleagues in BSI, so you get that professional development and that industry engagement opportunity. And we really value and appreciate the work and the research that you do on these projects, so they can sometimes even lead into thinking about new standards that we need to be developing and contribute to some of the engagement work that we are doing as well. We also host public engagement events. So if the university or, the organization or committee or society that you have want BSI to come along and attend the events, we can do that. We can also have committee events that are in public place, so it almost gives you an insight into how the committee world works and what the different processes are. And then finally, we have the IEC Young Professionals program as well. So this is a professional development in standards making, typically for young engineers, but it's a really exciting program led by the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Committee, and they really want to encourage and get young professionals involved in standards development and standards making, and they typically go to some really exciting places around the world as well, so definitely have a look into that. You can see here we have the Standards Show, which is an educational podcast, which is led by my colleague Matthew Childs, and that's a really good intro into the standards world. So it covers key themes. You can see here we've got one on kind of standards in South America. He's also looked at kind of Formula One and farming and various areas like healthcare technologies, AI, and that's a great intro for those of you who are new to standards and want to learn more. We also then have an online course called The Power of Standards. So you can click through this. I think it doesn't take that long, but again, it's just an introduction to give you an insight into, you know, how standards really make everybody's lives better, and how they're really kind of an integral part of the kind of national quality infrastructure. And then finally, we have Compliance Navigator, which is a tool which is more for subscribers, but it's again just a library of the various standards that are out there, but it has a bit more of a search function, and you can then kind of collate the standards that are relevant to your particular portfolios as well. But yes, that is everything from me. I appreciate that was a very speedy run through, but hopefully it's just given you a good insight into the standards world and what is going on, and hopefully it's just a bit of a call to action to get involved and learn more, really. Thank you.